Today we're checking out the Ryobi seed and fertilizer spreader. So this is a really handy tool to have in the garden, especially if you're doing things like fertilizing your lawn on a regular basis, or you're planning on spreading seed. This is really an indispensable tool to replace having to use one of those hand spreaders. I only have a really small lawn here, so about 130 square meters, and I find that this will probably save me about half an hour working my way around if I'm fertilizing the lawn here. So what's really cool about the Ryobi seed and fertilizer spreader is the fact that it's really compact, it's really well balanced. You've got a trigger mechanism on the top here, and that's basically what is spinning the insides, which is spreading your fertilizer out. So it uses the 18-volt system. So we have here one of the 2.5 amp hour batteries hooked up to it, and this weighs 2 kilos without the battery, so it's really well balanced, really light, and it fits 4 kilos of product inside as well, which for our application here on about 130 square meters of lawn, pretty much you can get around the whole lawn by just filling this up probably about 1.5 times. If you come up a bit closer to the machine here, you do have some adjustment settings. So on the handle here, you've got a dial where you can turn it all the way from 1 through 5. And what that does there is on the inside of the machine, if we take the battery out, on the inside, you should see the door here opens up. So this is where the fertilizer is being spread from. And if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 5's fully open. So this gives you some adjustment settings if you're wanting to regulate, I guess, how much product you're putting across a lawn. And if you're spreading something like seed, you might want to be on setting 1 or 2. If you're spreading larger fertilizer pills like we are going to today, we'll be using this on a 3 or a 4. The flow rate on 5 is incredibly fast, so unless you're using something really substantial, you probably want to stay away from that. On the front of the machine as well, you've got a fan setting, so this is adjustable, so you can go all the way from 180 degrees and you can narrow it down. I'm not too sure how far that narrows down in terms of degrees, but it does give you some flexibility, especially if you're working through smaller areas of lawn where you're not wanting to throw the product all around the place. Just like when you're using a hand fertilizer spreader, you are going to probably kick a lot of product out onto your driveway or onto your path, so we will have to come along with a leaf blower after we do that, or a broom, and clean all of that up. So what we'll do, we'll fill this up with some product, the fertilizer, and I'll show you how this works in a fertilizing application. So what I typically do when I do this is I work in one direction. So I'm actually on I'm on setting number 3 on here for the spreading, and I'm just adjusting that fan as I go. So I'm starting out quite wide because I've got a lot of grass to work with here, and then I narrowed it down when I got to a slightly more constructive area. So try and work in one direction, and then I usually come crosshatch as well, but I make sure I go across the whole lawn once, so I do get even spread of the product. Then I'll just back up and I'll come in the same direction again. And what I've got to be careful here with is that I don't blow through the product too quick. So on that setting 3, it is applying quite a bit of product to the lawn. So I don't come across and do my cross hatches until I know I've got leftover product. So it burns through it pretty quickly on that setting 3. What we'll do is we'll work our way on the boom here. So we'll bring our setting in, our fan setting nice and close. And I usually come really close to the ground when I'm doing an area like this. It just stops it from spreading it all across the street. And I'm almost through all the product in there, and what you'll find is when you do get quite low, there is still a bit left in there, but you don't get even spread. So I think you definitely want to make sure you've got this sufficiently covered. So we'll go and we'll fill this up with the rest of the product. Right, filled up again, so we'll carry on spreading. And that's it, we're all emptied out. So we managed to work our way through 4 kilograms of fertilizer in the space of about 2 or 3 minutes of spreading, which is something that if I was using a hand fertilizer, I probably would have walked around with a sore wrist doing this for probably a good quarter of an hour. And just another little tip, once you have fertilised, make sure that you get either a broom out or a leaf blower if you've got one, because what will happen is if you don't clean up the fertiliser pills across the concrete, when it does rain or they get wet, it will leave iron deposits and it will basically look like little spots of rust all over your driveway. So we're going to clean these up. And the bonus of doing that as well is it means that you're not wasting fertiliser. Fertilisers are not cheap, so that is blowing at least some of that excess product back onto the lawn. So make sure that you bring this out, otherwise you're going to end up with a really messy looking driveway. And I typically put my fertiliser out before it's due to rain because it does need watering in. You don't want to leave too much fertiliser on the surface of the lawn because what it can do is burn it, especially if you've got quite a bit spread across one portion, which hopefully we shouldn't because we've spread it really evenly today with the Ryobi spreader. So today it's actually a beautiful winter's day here. There was meant to be some rain, but what we're going to do is just water this in for about 10 to 15 minutes just to make sure that if that rain doesn't come, we're not going to end up with a burnt lawn. So we'll plug in our sprinkler system here and get it going. So that's the Ryobi seed and fertilizer spreader. I really enjoy using this versus a hand spreader. It just saves me a lot of time. Uses the same battery system that we use for all of our other Ryobi tools, which is fantastic. And obviously this machine here, it's relatively cheap as well. So it's $99 from Bunnings in New Zealand. And Bunnings is the sole stockist of this product, at least here in New Zealand and Australia. And in terms of the customization on the machine, it's really nice having the dial on there because I have used this in the past to spread seed across the lawn. And then obviously what we've done today is spreading larger fertilizer pills. So if you've got any comments at all on this machine, feel free to let us know below. Otherwise, Omni Garage does check out a whole lot of Ryobi tools. We've got a really big collection of them and we really like the system. So make sure that you check out our Ryobi playlist if you're interested in any other Ryobi tools. Thank you so much for watching.